let not the democracy degenerate into mobocracy. This is a very powerful punch. If somebody can, our rulers can take it up, or bureaucracy can take it up, or all other wings of the government can take this up. So democracy is an impossible thing until the power is shared by all, but let not democracy degenerate into mobocracy. Today, I stand before you with a profound sense of purpose and excitement as we inaugurate the Forum for Democracy and Global Peace. This moment marks a historic milestone in our relentless pursuit of a world where democracy flourishes and peace reigns supreme. I extend my warmest welcome to all of you, hailing from diverse backgrounds, who have chosen to join us on this momentous occasion. The Forum for Democracy and Global Peace is not merely a gathering of individuals. It is a crucible where ideas, dreams, and aspirations converge. It serves as a vibrant platform where individuals and organizations can engage in meaningful dialogue and share insights and collaborate on transformative initiatives. However, let us not forget that the path of democracy is not without challenges. In our pursuit of democratic ideals, we must be vigilant in safeguarding the institutions and principles that sustain it. We must protect freedom of speech, the press, the assembly, the lifeblood of the vibrant democracy. Likewise, global peace stands as an invaluable aspiration. Our world has borne witness to the devastating repercussions of conflicts and violence. It is our shared responsibility to diligently work towards a world where diplomacy and dialogue eclipse aggression and hostility.
The forum is going to be launched. So first of all, I would like to say now good morning to everybody, and then I will start. Mr. President and Honorable Chief Guests and Honorable other guests on the dais and off the dais. When Mr. President Shyam Mohanji mentioning about is thinking on forming such forum, I also felt so much, having served in various missions abroad, representing India, participating in international affairs, discussing, I also felt so much, is democracy really working, or is there really global peace? To question oneself, peace is desired by everybody. Peace of mind is a must for any personality to progress. Then peace in the family, neighborhood, and in the region and the nation, and at the global stage is a must for the human development. So, as Shyam Mohanji mentioned about Dr. B.R. Ambedkar at the end of his welcome address, I would like to start from there. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar mentioned he is the father of the modern democracy in India and architect of the Indian Constitution. He says, Indian democracy is workable, it functions and upholds the unity and integrity of India during peace and during wartime also, which we all witnessed. And he also says, it is our responsibility, everyone's responsibility, to strengthen the democracy and also oppose the activities of the opponents of democracy to erase the democratic values on the face of the earth. These are his own feelings, and then he also enshrined in the Constitution the democratic values like liberty, equality, fraternity should always be the guiding principles of Indian democracy and democracies all over the world. Sacrificed and achieved the independence of the nation and given the most valuable, flexible constitution to guide our government and all the organs of the state, where are we now after 75 years? Apart from political democracy, which we achieved, as Dr. Ambedkar saying, political democracy gave one person, one vote, one value. But what about the democracy in economic field, in social field? As long as the true democracy not working in the other fields, political democracy will be undermined. We noticed what are the threats to democracy. Of course, erosion of institutions taking place, and then the wealthy, because of the economic power, wealthy people getting the political power, economically weaker sections denied such representation. Though of course, one can say, yeah, they are also represented. You are right. In presidential democracy, direct elections, okay, but in our democracy, parliamentary democracy, we are electing our representatives, and then they are sitting in the parliament and they are forming the government. But our representatives are reflecting the people's mind in the parliament? I don't think so. So what should we do? As Shyam Mohanji mentioning, how long we can sit like this?
This made him a man of humanitarian cause. He was very soon observed by the public, and he was connected to the public cause, and this got him accolades, and he was in fact invited and made a public representative at Secunderabad Cantonment Board. His humanitarian service did not stop with that. He further continued. There were numerous hospitals, schools, and health camps. You name them, and he was there representing them day in and day out. This saw him being invited and appointed to a national service organization at a very crucial position. He gave 100% of himself to this cause, and it is not a wonder or a surprise.
మన దేశంలో పెట్టుకోవాల్సిన అవసరం వచ్చిందంటే శ్యామ్ మోహన్ గారికి ధన్యవాదాలు తెలపాలి. అంటే మనం ఈ 75 సంవత్సరాలలో ఏమి నేర్చుకున్నామని అంటే, మనము మన శాంతితో మనమే గౌరవించుకునేది కానీ, మనము పెద్దలను గౌరవించేది కానీ, స్కూల్లో పాఠాలు నేర్చేది కానీ మొత్తం మర్చిపోయినట్టుగా ఈరోజు జ్ఞాపకం చేసుకొని మరి ఈ ఫోరం పెట్టవలసిన అవసరం శ్యామ్ మోహన్ గారికి దక్కింది. కానీ మేము అభినందిస్తున్నాము, ఆ వారికి ధన్యవాదాలు కూడా తెలుపుతున్నాము. చాలాసార్లు వారు ప్రపంచంలో తిరిగి వచ్చినాక కూడా ఎంతోమంది స్నేహితులతోటి కూడా మరి చీఫ్ సెక్రటరీస్ కానీ మరి జస్టిస్ కానీ ఏదో విధంగా వారు సంప్రదించి అందరితోటి కూడా, అయ్యా మేము నాయంతలు నేనే గోడల మధ్యలో ఉండి డెమోక్రసీ గురించి ఆలోచన చేస్తే ఇది ప్రజలకు పోదు, ఈ ప్రజలకు మరి అన్యాయం చేసిన వాళ్ళం అవుతామని చెప్పి వారు చాలా మట్టుకు ఆలోచన చాలా రోజుంది చేస్తూ ఈ సభాముఖంగా ఈ రోజుకు ప్రపంచ ఏదైతే శాంతియుత మనకు డెమోక్రసీ గురించి మాట్లాడుకోవాల్సిన అవసరమో ఈరోజు మంచి దినం అని చెప్పి వారు పెట్టడము, అదే కాకుండా ఎన్నోసార్లు మాతోటి కూడా సంప్రదించడము. మేము ఏదైతే రైతు కుటుంబంలో పుట్టి రైతుగా చేస్తూ మరి ప్రజల గురించి ఆలోచన చేస్తూ మరి నల్గొండ పార్లమెంట్ కూడా కొట్లాడినాను. నేను పొలిటికల్ కూడా చాలా రాజశేఖర రెడ్డి గారితో కానీ చాలామంది ముఖ్యమంత్రులతో పనిచేశాను. వారి తర్వాత కూడా నాకు ఏదైతే ఎమ్మెల్సీ గారు గవర్నర్ గారు ఇచ్చిండ్రో దాని తర్వాత నేను సేవాదల్ ఆల్ ఇండియా సేవాదల్ ఏదైతే పార్టీ పరంగా కాకుండా కూడా సోషల్ వర్క్ చేసుకుంటూ ఈరోజు గత 23 సంవత్సరాల నుంచి నేను ఈరోజు కూడా నేషనల్ పార్టీకి ఒక సేవాదల్కు ట్రెజరర్ అనే పదమే కానీ మిగతా సోషల్ వర్క్ చేసుకుంటూ ఈ రకంగా వస్తూ శ్యామ్మోహన్ గారు వీళ్ళంతా మొత్తం ఒక మీటింగ్ ఏర్పరిచి మాట్లాడడం జరిగింది. ఈరోజు మరి జనాభా 140 కోట్ల జనాభాకు వస్తే మనము శాంతితోనే మనం ఏదైతే డెమోక్రసీ అనేది మర్చిపోవడం జరుగుతున్నది. కాబట్టి దీనికి ఏ విధంగా మనము డెవలప్మెంట్ అంటే ప్రజలందుకు పోవాలి. మనం ఒక్కరమే కాదు, ఇది మనము ఈ ఇంటలెక్చువల్స్ కానీ మరి మీరు పెద్దలందరినీ మిమ్మల్ని పిలిచి మీ అందు మరి అడ్వైజ్ తీసుకొని కానీ మీ అందు ఈ ముచ్చట చెప్పి కానీ మాట్లాడుకొని ఏ విధంగా అయితే మనము మళ్ళీ మన దేశానికి మన దేశస్తులు బయట పోయి అధ్యక్షులు అవుతున్నారు, ప్రైమ్ మినిస్టర్లు అవుతున్నారు. మన దేశంలో మరి పాలిటిక్స్ చూస్తే మరి పైసా పెట్టు పాలిటిక్స్ తీసుకున్నట్టుగా అయిపోయింది. మరి డెమోక్రసీ అంటే పైసలు పెట్టి నేర్చుకునేది కాదు. డెమోక్రసీ అంటే ఓరికోరు మనము పుట్టినప్పటి నుంచి భాష ఏ ఇంట్లో వస్తుందో ఏ కాస్ట్ బేస్గా అదే డెమోక్రసీ మనము అందరికీ ఈ దేశంలో చెప్పుకోవాల్సిన అవసరము మన అందరికీ వస్తున్నది. కాబట్టి ప్రజలందరికీ మనం తెలపాలంటే మనం స్టార్ట్ చేస్తేనే మరి అంతటా కూడా స్టార్ట్ అవుతుందని చెప్పి మేము మాట్లాడుకోవడము. వారు మరి ఒక పెద్ద మనసుతోటి మరి ఈ రోజుల్లో మరి ఇప్పుడు వారు 79-80 సంవత్సరాలకు వస్తున్నాడు. నేను గత శేష జీవితం కూడా అందరికీ ఉపయోగపడేట్టుగా, ఈ దేశం ప్రజలకు ఉపయోగపడేట్టుగా, ఈ దేశం రేపు పాలిటిక్స్ కూడా ఇటువంటి రాకుండా ఏదైతే మనం శాంతియుతంగా మీ అందరికీ తెలుసు దేశం పరిపాలించేటోళ్ళు, రాష్ట్రం పరిపాలించేటోళ్ళు ఏ పొలిటికల్ పార్టీ చెప్పకుండా ఈరోజు మణిపూర్ వ్యవస్థ ఏమవుతున్నది, ఈరోజు మనం ఎక్కడ పోతున్నామో, ఈరోజు ఆడ కానీ మగకు ఎంప్లాయ్మెంట్ లేదు, ఆడకు సెక్యూరిటీ లేదు. ఈ విధంగా మనం ఎట్లా ఈ డెమోక్రసీ స్టార్ట్ చేస్తే శాంతియుతంగానన్నా మనం కొంతమంది నేర్చుకున్న వాళ్ళు అవుతారు, కొంతమంది ఉపయోగించుకున్న వాళ్ళు అవుతారు, ఈ దేశాన్ని బాగుపరిచి వాళ్ళు కూడా బాగుంటారని చెప్పి వారు స్టార్ట్ చేసినారు. వారికి ఈ పెద్దలందరికీ ధన్యవాదాలు చెప్తూ జై హింద్.
Science Nizam College, Uspana University, President Anvishi Women's Studies Research Center, was Secretary of the Indian chapter of Amnesty International, was Vice President, Indian Association of Women Studies. Some other key positions and projects include civil society in the Third World, presented a paper, Civil Society and State in India, worked on globalization and state, a National Foundation of India, presented a paper conceptualizing food security. Apart from this, her research papers include Understanding the Third World in the New World Order, Changing Global Political Ideological Context and Afro-Asian Strategies for Development, Integrating the Third World into the World Market, India and the Indian Ocean, Emerging Threats to Peace, Indian Ocean Commission and the Political Economy of Island States, Regional Organizations, a Third World Perspective. Some books that Professor has authored are International Relations, Meaning of Globalization, Towards a World of Equals, a book published by the Telugu Academy, which is now prescribed as a textbook.
The way democracy functions in different countries, etc. The fundamentals that we taught were, based on certain ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity, and basic principles of parliamentary democracy as responsibility of the executive to an elected parliament. Now, these things stayed in our minds, as you go on teaching. But today I wonder, even as individuals in our daily life, do we behave in a democratic manner? Forget about the state and government. As individuals, in our families, in the society, to other people, to our colleagues or to our people on the streets, do we behave in a democratic manner? Do we respect other individuals as human beings? Is a question I keep asking. Because look at the way people behave sometimes on the streets. Or the worst thing that we hear today is people being, individuals of a particular community being lynched because they ate something. Things like this, you ask a question to yourself. And you see people being lynched, but you don't do anything to protect them. You take a video. There's something wrong with us, I feel, sometimes. That we don't think democratically, we don't behave in a democratic manner. So I think we need to ask ourselves this question before anything else, in my view. In every way, in the family, how do we behave? How do men behave with the women? How does a husband behave with the wife? So many things, as vice versa. All these are issues that we need to think through. So that is one thing. Now, I'm sure all of you have read in the papers that a teacher in a school in Madhya Pradesh asked one student to slap another student because that student belongs to another community. The majority community student are being asked to slap another student who belongs to a minority community. And when I'm not concocting this, it was in the papers, and yesterday there was an article by Krishna Kumar, the educationist, who confirmed all this. And there, not only did the boy slap, but then the teacher said, no, slap him harder. Now, this is something, that breaks my heart as a teacher. Is this what we are meant for? Is this what we are doing to our students? What kind of citizens are we turning out? This is a major question for me today. A big way or protest. There were no protests on the streets against this. Of course, I think the school was closed or something. And after the Right to Education Act was passed, hundreds of private schools everywhere, every flat, every room has a school, and they are all money-making. Education has become an industry now. It's an industry, profit-making industry. Because considering that so many people are illiterate in the country, of course we need education and we can't deny that. But that has become private business now. And this is the kind of culture we are developing. That is one thing. The other thing that bothers me a lot as a teacher is, when you teach history to students, at your will and wish you erase a whole section of the history books. From history books, we have read how a period, the Mughal period, has been deleted. Of course, there was some protest. That has been deleted. Now, I was wondering, how do you connect up the pre-Mughal to the colonial history? What happens to that period? There was no India. There was no colonized, there was no states, no India. This is something absolutely shocking and absurd. The way history is being not only distorted, but erased. Erasure. You can distort history and we can correct it, we can question. But if you erase, what is the student going to learn? He doesn't know. Unless people like us tell them, they wouldn't even know. So tomorrow they might say there was no such thing as Mughal period. So this is a very sad thing that is happening, and I don't see any huge protest from political parties or from anyone. This is education, let them decide what they want. This is, for me as a teacher, it's most painful to see this kind of a thing,
The power is in people's hands. But is that the position now, is the first question we have to ask. I don't think people's power is in people's hands. People's power is in someone else's hands. This is the first thing that we should also actually look at it. When we say democracy, there are so many different types of democracies. A guided democracy, a goaded democracy, a dictator democracy. There are different types of democracies. So we have to be very clear, what type of a democracy do we really need and do we really want? This is one very important thing which we need to look at. The second thing is, it is said of the people, for the people, by the... But people now feel it is very far away from all of this. Because what is happening is, there is a lot of difference and a gap between what is the principle and what is the practice. There is a big gap between the principle and the practice. So how do we bridge that gap becomes very, very important for us. This is one thing which I think we need to actually look at. There are a lot of rights and duties prescribed. There is more emphasis on rights and less emphasis on the duties. So we need to actually look at it. How do we find a big balance between rights and duties? How many people really go and vote at the elections? Just ask one simple question. So we need to actually look at what is it that is ailing democracy and how can we actually. We thought elections and the electoral process will ensure that the will of the people is known. But when very few people attend and very few people vote, and even those votes are actually purchased, then how do we know that democracy is functioning very well? So who has to therefore restore democracy to its original glory? It has to be the people themselves. So someone needs to educate the people, enlighten the people as to what is required. Therefore, the function of the Forum for Democracy therefore assumes importance, and also for global peace. We have recently had G20, and the African Union for the first time has been there. What does it signify? The United Nations organizations have not really done their work well. Big portion of humanity is left out. Then how do you say that it is functioning very well? So you just say United Nations Security Council. India is the second largest first democracy and the second largest population, and we are not represented. How do we say that democracy is functioning well? These are questions that any intelligent person should ask of himself or herself. Second thing is, all democracy has to be done through a process of dialogue, debate, deliberation, discussion and decision. Is it being done like this? Decisions are taken by individuals. It is not being taken through a democratic forum. So this is one very important thing we need to also actually look at it. Second, we have thought Panchayati Raj, once Panchayati Raj is introduced, people at local level also can exercise their franchise. Is it happening? No. What is happening to Panchayat Raj? Everyone said, and after some committees were set up, they said 3 F's are very important. One, they said that you must have the functions properly delegated from higher authorities to the Panchayat. The functions were never delegated. Next, they said funds must be released. Funds were not released. Then they said that we must actually have the functionaries also in place. They were not put in place. And lastly, there is no focus at all. So basic thing I would think is, we need to focus on what are our priorities and attend to those priorities in the manner in which we ought to be actually attending to them, which I think has not really happened.
A few introductory observations. I shall try to be very brief for various reasons. I thought I would deliver a structured speech befitting the occasion. When I started writing, I was stuck somewhere, and it remains to be disjointed notes. I may borrow from those disjointed notes if such an occasion arises. The forum is launched, its task and agenda is set by none other than the distinguished speaker, Sri Gopal Krishna, what it is expected to do and how it is expected to proceed. And after an excellent speech and analysis of democracy, about which she has been teaching all her lifetime, my task has become easy. Forum for Democracy and Global Peace. I do not know much about global peace. I will leave it to the ambassador sitting here, because I have seen the quarreling amongst the distinguished diplomats as to whether they should condemn the naked aggression of Ukraine by the Soviet Union. What is the compromise? Compromise is every nation is entitled to protect its sovereignty and territorial integrity.
Ukraine's territorial integrity is violated with impunity. It's now almost a broken country. But the world leaders pick up no courage to say it's a war, naked war declared by Soviet Union. Therefore, I won't speak anything about the world peace, lest the ambassador may get upset about it. I have seen the tagline of the forum, non-political, non-profit. Sir, what is non-political about democracy? How can you talk about democracy being non-political? You say non-partisan, thereby saying not affiliated to any political party. That is the biggest danger. When we talk to the people, no, we don't talk about politics. Do you exercise your right to vote or not? Do you go to the polling booth and exercise your preference, indicate your preference? On the other day, I was talking to some students who would like to enter into the profession. That's my profession, the fraternity.